Intention is extremely important in everything you do. Intention throughout the day and stating it is a way to navigate through your own energy field, whether you believe it or not. Now, you don't have to even recognize, feel, or take into consideration energy to understand that intentions are powerful. If you wake up and the first thing you do when you plant your feet on the ground in the morning is state your intention for the day, you're much more likely to get that done. You're much more likely to follow that because your first thing you did that day was you opened up the pathway for that possibility to occur.
Welcome back to the Mind, Body, Muscle podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Smith. And with me today, I have Jesse Mays, the Muscle Medic. So we are going to dive in deep on what is fasting, why is it important, what does it do to the body, for the body, and we're going to talk about Jesse's experience. He just went through a 7-day fast. Crazy, blew my mind that you could even do that, honestly. Something fascinating. I give you props for that, my man. But without further ado, I'm going to let Jesse dive in here, talk a little bit about his experience, why he decided to do it, and what he learned from it, and what he got from it. So, Jesse, floor is all yours, my man.
What's up, man? So my name's Jesse Mays. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and my recent experience with fasting was really interesting because it gave me a lot of tools that I don't feel like I had before, and I would like to say that I'm decently experienced within meditation and within self-awareness. It's really interconnection, and the fasting experience had many levels. I might have to like chop it up, it had many levels of it was like a different lesson every day. And coming from especially a former sports athlete who likes to eat, fasting was extra special to me because I personally have had a problem with food, had a problematic connection, I would say, with limiting food and having a healthy relationship with it. And I think fasting created a whole new regard for the relationship that someone would have with food, create a different regard for me, because there's no way to come out of it without being extremely sensitive, for one, but also recognizing that you don't need it. You don't need food. And that once that kind of recognition hits, that like you're going to be fine, you're okay, you don't need food. There's a lot of people out there that really have the mindset as soon as they're hungry, they're starving, they're upset, they really want food. And you can truly see who someone is when they're hungry, I guess. But the further you go, that's kind of the idea, is like you can really see yourself. You can see all your reactions. You can be very introspective. You can be very expansive in thought. But what I found was it was actually more stable than anything within the fast. My brain felt very stable. I felt very coherent. I felt very here, very uninflamed. But yeah, there's several different stages. So how do you want me to start this? Do you want me to go through like each day, or do you want me to
Well, first, before you do that, I want to talk about, or I think that's really, really important what you just said. Like, we don't realize how much food controls us. It's the mindlessness that we get so caught up in. And are you saying that you found that this is a great way to kind of break that?
Yes, absolutely.
How fascinating. That's cool. So moving into that, then how did you handle the first couple of days? How was it? What would you consider like the first phase of this fasting?
The first phase was probably day 1 and day 2. I had gone plenty of times with 18 to 24-hour fast before, so it wasn't too bad. In fact, I don't really consider a 24-hour fast a problem. I've done a 3-day fast before in the past, but it wasn't for the same reasons. It was more so because I couldn't eat at a time. But day 1 and day two was pretty draining. It felt like from day one to about the 12-hour mark of fasting, you feel pretty clear. You feel pretty um like you're in full digestion mode and you're trying to get rid of everything, kind of move through stuff. If you prolong that to like 18 hours, that's usually where they say autophagy starts. I personally think autophagy starts at a different hour for every single person. It depends on what processes are breaking down, how many toxins you have. But going through the first phase, it was pretty much coming to a balanced energy level and finding what that is and figuring out your chemicals in your body, trying to figure themselves out of how to create homeostasis when there's not energy constantly coming in. So through the 48-hour period was pretty much my body figuring that out. And then on the third day, the 48-hour to 72-hour period, that was the best day out of the entire fast, because I feel like that was the day my energy level was the best, the greatest. It was just not hungry whatsoever, super happy and content.
So if you can just make it through those first 2 days, huh?
For me.
For you, yeah.
I've heard plenty of people, for a long time they're tanking, but I think it comes on faster the more experienced and the more often you fast. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And why do you think that is?
Well, you're detoxing a lot of stuff during the fast, and then there's also levels of, there's a difference in every person between how they detox, whether it's fasting or whether it's how your body already is processing, what level of what the rate of processing is. I do believe thermogenesis takes a big part in this. I believe that probably the higher your ability to regulate thermogenesis, which would be constituted at how fast your nervous system can adapt to a situation, would be the faster your body can get into that auto regulation period of clearing out everything out of the system, digesting the food, and getting back to your own sustainable energy levels and getting into ketosis.
Okay, cool, man. Cool. Very interesting. Very interesting. Personally, I've only done 30 days, 72 hours. Now it's tough, but I definitely get what you say. Like, you start to lose that. You start to get, once you get past that second day, get into that third day. I experienced that myself. That third day was just I worked out that day and I had the best workout, had the best pump, had the best energy levels. I was focused. I felt like I cleared the clutter, right? Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So after that, then what would be the next? What would you say you moved into next? And what would you say you experienced in the second phase?
I think the second phase was just 48 hours to 72 hours. This is where the energy levels were pretty high. I felt very joyful. I felt very coherent. And I think that's where I really took recognition, because with the intention of this fast, I wanted to pay attention. And so I was self-aware the entire time. And it was almost kind of like I didn't choose this fast. It was like I've been doing a lot of research on it over the past, probably a year, just coming back in a circle to the research, and something just slapped me and it was like, do the fast now. And that 48-hour to 72-hour period was just clarity and recognition of probably all the things I've been battling and fighting. It was like there's a lot of that just didn't exist in that space. There was a lot of mood swings that I was used to that just didn't exist. There was a lot of stability, definitely, that didn't exist. And during that third day, it definitely did. And just a slap in the face, like the clarity came in that it was like, you're okay. Like, this is you without any drugs, without any food, without any sustenance. This is you with just water, and you're doing great, and you're doing fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have an eating problem.
Wow, that's
so
wow.
Feeling that on the second phase, that was primarily the second phase.
Yeah. How fascinating, dude. That's incredible. Knowing you're okay with yourself like that, you don't need anything. I feel like a lot of people latch on, like I said earlier, latch on to food as something like a drug, almost something they need to have, like oxygen. You know, that's incredible. It's incredible. So if you were to say to somebody who started to do this, what advice would you give them?
Um, Definitely. Uh, Honestly, I won't say there's a wrong way to do it unless you go into a totally nutritionally deficit. Unless you go into a nutritional deficit beforehand, like weeks before, you're really not taking in a lot of nutrients. I would say that that's a poor choice. You still make it, you'll be fine, but it won't be as comfortable. I personally had a big 16-ounce ribeye steak, baked potato, and some greens before the fast. And during that, I think it made day one and day two a lot easier,
Yeah,
honestly, because I felt like I had some necessary things that were being prioritized first.
yeah,
Um, I think the last meal can matter. I would also just say do the research during the fast. Do tons of research during the fast, because if you're researching something while you're doing it, you're not only going to learn more about it, you're not only going to know the processes that are happening and be able to identify them, especially like when all of a sudden your mood and your energy drops like it did later on in the fast. Um, Doing the research, you're like, okay, this is normal. And then it's also keeps the willpower up, because
mm,
while you're like looking at all these people and listening to them and all these great stories and everything about how great their fast was because they did it for this long, you're just like, all right, I can stick to it. I keep going.
gives you some motivation, right? Let's
Yeah.
fire. That's cool. Yeah, that's such an important thing as well. I'm not sure if people really understand that, how you prime it, how you start it, frame it,
Mhm.
the framing before you go into it, and understanding that people have done this, people have gone through this, people have gone through the suffering that you're about to face. You're not alone, so don't get in your head and keep moving forward. That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude. I love that. I love that. So, so with that, what else? What's another thing you faced towards the end of it? Because you're talking, because the first phase, first and second phase, right, was up to like day 4 or 5 with you. Is that what you said?
Day three.
Day three.
70,
Okay. How
phase three, I guess you would say the final phase started at day four.
the final phase?
Yeah.
Okay. What was that
Um,
like?
Day four was hell. Day four was absolute hell. I mean, I was, the way I get, especially, is like I might cry about a few things, but even if you hear me crying, usually it doesn't mean I'm going to give up. I might be crying and saying I'm giving up, but I never do.
Yeah.
So day four, I think I was being a crybaby quite a bit, but man, my energy levels are so down. I was so tired. And, I understand what it had to deal with, but it was because I chose to be pretty active. So I did not stop. I stopped working out, but I did not stop working. Right. And I wouldn't say I have like a huge physical labor job by any means, but it is movement constantly. And it did feel like I could start to sense when I tanked out my reserves. I also recently got a longboard, and I spent a lot of time on the fast longboarding just because I felt pretty bored and had a lot of time.
A
So
lot of time on your hands.
yeah, and so I wanted to longboard and just be in nature. From day 4 to 7, nothing got done. Not a damn thing.
Hmm.
I, I just like looked at a lot of my tasks. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's whatever. And this is usually the point where people coast throughout the fasting. It's not really a smart idea to do a whole lot of physical activity. It's not really a smart idea to um, push yourself mentally too much, just because you don't have a whole lot there. You do, but you really need to reserve it. So there's a lot of people who sleep for long periods of time during the day because you can't really sleep at night, and that was what kicked my ass at the 72-hour fast, because that third night I could not sleep. I slept 2 hours. I was wide awake, And that's one of the things you'll start to notice about the fast. Yeah, you start losing the ability to sleep, because your body has enough energy. It knows there's like you'll get off your circadian rhythm really bad, and your body's kind of going into survival mode. It is going into survival mode. So once it starts going into survival mode, it's it's kicking up energy stores from many different places. It is going to be definitely by day 4, you're going to be catabolic. And thing about us talking about being catabolic here is understanding what autophagy is, and it's not new. It's your body's ancient system, right, to clean itself up. And so I forget the guy's name, but this Japanese doctor actually was the one who found autophagy and basically wrote on it. And originally when they found it, they saw the cells eating themselves, and they were like, dude, this is crazy. This has to be a new virus. This virus is making the cells eat themselves. But it's actually a natural process of refinement where the cells are finding, basically breaking themselves down. And pretty much the weakest cells in the body who can't withstand certain things, they go first. The body has a prioritization system. It's extremely smart, and it's crazy when this happens. This is systemic. This is happening all over the body. And of course, autophagy is going to happen at different rates. But this is where I think I paid for it in 2 different ends, because I think day 3, I just had a lot of energy, enough not to sleep. But that energy is not coming in like I can bounce off the walls or anything. It's just like your body is running, and your body has no reason to stop running. It's not digesting. It's quote unquote rested, but it's also hungry, and it wants more nutrients. It's not used to this. So your body's up. It's primed to do something. It's primed to go get food. And so that mixed with a whole lot of skateboarding the day before, because I spent a lot of time outside day 3, and I felt that my energy stores had completely tanked on day 4. And day 4 was miserable. Mood was miserable. And I just that's the day that I just pretty much lounged around, spent a lot of time researching. I went to work, but I just struggled through it. Day 5 was a little better. It was mostly, I guess there's 4 phases to this. Day 5 was a little better. The energy was not better, but the mood was. Mood was kind of like, all right, well, this sucks, and that's okay. And then there was a 4th phase of day 6 and 7, which was very interesting, because I would say that's probably the enlightenment phase, right? So if we have your initiation phase of day 1 and 2 again for me. The sustainable energy and autophagy and ketosis phase, which started day 3, and then days 4 and 5 was essentially energy balance, because I was overexpending energy that I didn't have, and my body was letting me know by dragging me down, dragging the energy way down. Mood was way down. A lot of the things that produce all your neurotransmitters, are firing quite well during a fast, but it's also, takes energy. So when you take that energy away by doing physical activity, those also drop down. So your ability to produce serotonin and dopamine kind of tank a little bit too, right? So you're not producing as well if you're overexpending during the fast. And then day 6 and 7 was like the enlightenment period, where I was I was literally so hungry and depleted that I was getting frustrated at every little thing. And while at the same time practicing mindfulness, I was in Walmart, and I just remember everyone just irritating me I hate Walmart anyway. It's just so claustrophobic, and there's so many people, there's so much energy going around that's just not super healthy, especially if you're tuned into energy. You can feel it on everyone. It's just, it's a bad place. And
it's a lot going on.
Yeah, and when you're clear like that, especially like when you don't have any food or anything, you are clear, and you can. I noticed on day 6, my senses had drastically heightened. like
Hmm.
drastically, like my ability to smell, see, hear, everything, but also um, uh, my exterior awareness, because I don't go around toting that I'm an empath, but I am a healer. And I often find myself in a place where I am feeling other people's emotions. I was feeling a lot of stuff. It was literally like I was passing through, which this is the truth, but I could literally feel myself passing through people's bubbles and getting affected by it. Not in a way that it like shook me, but I could take note of it instantly. Like there is no way to necessarily negate what I was feeling. And at this point, I was so frustrated at people and hungry that I was like looking at people, assessing whether or not their nutritional value was valid enough for me to kill them. Not really, but I do
We don't
remember,
suggest that at home, folks.
thinking that. It was like a joke
Yeah.
in my head. I was like, this dude was really irritating me. And I was like, you're worth breaking the fast.
Yeah. Totally kidding, folks. Totally kidding. That's
Yeah.
funny. That's wild, man. So just backing up here, you mentioned something earlier. It really caught me. Oh, you talked about how you had the intention of moving in when you moved into this fast. You had the intention, not just going through it just to do it, but you had a specific focus in mind, right? Can you elaborate on that? What was that?
So my intention was to be self-aware, clean out the body, and uh, get through it, get through something. As I said, something just really called me to do this, and it made me just realize a lot of things. Like, I mean, first and foremost, if I didn't already realize it, it made me just blatantly in my face realize you have an eating problem. And I think a lot of us do just because of our attachment to food. But for
Mm.
me, it wasn't just like a eating problem because I'm relatively fit. I'm not in a bad weight. I'm not in a bad way. I'm very mobile. I would consider my body to be pretty healthy, especially for a big guy. But at the same time, the food choices, the food that I like, the reason why I eat food was I don't want to. I'm gonna go ahead and say invalid. Invalid in the case of my daily intention to feel good and be healthy. It was
Mm.
not following through with my own inner needs. It was not respecting the chemical imbalances in my body because there definitely was chemical imbalances and continues to be, but it's um, again, it's just like there's the call, there's the intention, but the overall intention was to tap into myself deeper.
Mm. Like a self-awareness, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
How incredible. How incredible. So why then would you say that's so important to have that self-awareness, that mindfulness?
Yeah, it's a whole ball game right there.
Yeah,
So I think there's many different ways I could answer that. It depends on whose level of consciousness is listening.
sure.
Um,
Well, how about this?
the
When someone, if somebody is trying to do this fast, if somebody is listening to this and they're like sparks the idea with them, what would you say is what is the importance of having an intention, and what is the importance of being mindful and being self-aware? What can you do with that? Why is it good?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the intention is extremely important in everything you do. Intention throughout the day and stating it is a way to navigate through your own energy field, whether you believe it or not. Now, you don't have to even recognize, feel, or take into consideration energy to understand that intentions are powerful. If you wake up and the first thing you do when you plant your feet on the ground in the morning is state your intention for the day, you're much more likely to get that done. You're much more likely to follow that because your first thing you did that day was you opened up the pathway for that possibility to occur. And you're much more likely to be focused on it quite a bit because you woke up that morning, you said it. So it's almost like most of the time you recognize it for what it is. It's your own consciousness giving commands. And other days it's incredibly miraculous because that same intention, it's like you might not even be thinking about it, but it got done. And that's really cool when you realize the power of intention. Sometimes it just takes a small, like, intention setting, to get through something and direct your consciousness, right?
Mm.
And then the self-awareness that comes with that is, I think self-awareness is the most important thing that you could do. And I think that it is the only work that we should be really focused on in this life, because self-awareness makes you recognize what reality is. A lot of us are wrapped up, and this goes as far as to being a better person, to having better days, to traveling all the way up to the stages of extreme enlightenment and higher levels of consciousness and being. And, just starting with being a better person, self-awareness, being able to take into consider, like, you're hungry throughout this period of time. So how many people do you know that when they get hungry, they start kind of being not the best type of person? They're not
Well,
nice.
hangry.
Yeah,
Right.
angry, man. And they're not very nice. They're not very kind, right? Does food really dictate that much how kind you are and how you treat other people?
Mm.
Because that's a big question, and so you're going to catch yourself on how you really are. How are you in the most inconvenienced of positions, right? And food as a human is our natural source of survival. It is, you can place any emotion, any action, anything you want on the pedestal of survival, but the actual act of eating is the precipice of survival, right?
Yeah.
So it is the thing that in your mind is the continuation of your organism. It is the thing that keeps you going. You take away the precipice of survival, you're going to be acting out against survival. And I would say self-awareness is our evolutionary step away from survival, not being in survival states, not not being caught up in the thought of you're going to die, or you need this, or you need something. You don't need anything. You're just there. You're just existing, right? Where that's the goal. So self-awareness is, again, I think, the most important and crucial thing you can do in this life, because it is going to show you every single aspect of yourself and how to change it and how to be a better person and how to navigate your life much better than just being on autopilot.
That's good. That's real good, because that's so crucial. So crucial. I know myself personally, I get so caught up. Actually, I was just thinking about this the other day, with getting so caught up in the mundane, habitual routines of things. Like, I saw this post on Instagram. It was literally like a little cartoon about the typical life. It was wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, drive in traffic, go to work, go to sleep, wake up, eat breakfast, drive in traffic. That continuous pattern. And the question popped up, is that really what life is about? So I think that's really, really a fundamental task right there, what you just said about being aware, self-awareness. If you can understand yourself and how you act and the reactions that you have in those moments, then you can ultimately start to control yourself. You can understand what's true and what's not. You can start to then become more centered, more grounded, right? That's brilliant. I love that, dude. That's honestly one great reason to fast right there. But I'm sure there's plenty of more great reasons to fast, right? Oh yeah, like a lot of scientific reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. That's brilliant, man. What are some of those? I know a lot is like regeneration of your body, of your cells and your tissue, and just filtering out the bad and filtering and kind of allowing the good to take over. But what would you say are some really of the best benefits that you've experienced from this whole process?
So I'm not going to be too, I'm terrible with citing my work, and I'm also terrible with diving into define sciences, but I always can speak pretty good anecdotally and experientially, because that's what I like to do. I like to test. I like to take the remote apart and put it back together and figure out what's going on. And for this, there's it's not the forefront, but it is one of the best benefits of fasting, which would be autophagy. And autophagy literally means self-eating. And the whole time that that's happening, again, it's the prioritization of breaking down poor cellular tissue, poor cells in all regards, and depending on what area has the most and what area needs to be cleaned up the most is going to be the prioritization kind of chain line, if you will, like the body going through different stages trying to find energy, and it's going to find that energy in the places where there's trash. But before that, it's also going to break down all that bacteria in the gut, all the viruses, all the even start removing toxins from cellular walls. It's going to go deep within the cells and start removing everything first, everything that's not useful, everything that's taking up extra energy to keep everything, and that's kind of really the entirety of, I believe, autophagy, which is your body going, all right, well, we don't have food, and we don't know where we're going to get food, so we need to start organizing a little bit better. We need to make this task a lot more efficient. And so the guys who aren't working the best, you got to go. The trash that's been laying around here for a while, it's in the way. It's got to go.
Cleaning house.
Yeah, it's cleaning the house. And so, yeah, you're going to lose muscle mass. Yeah, you're going to lose some fat mass. But it's everything that you're losing is good stuff, so to speak. Again, that kind of goes back to nutritional deficiencies too, because you can drastically accelerate that process if you are nutritionally efficient and you have been on your micronutrient game for a good bit of time, because it's going to speed up those processes to where it really does target more trash and more poor cells than it does trying to, because there is also more chemical processes that are trying to balance out nutrients across the body. Like for instance, common thing with a lot of people is if you don't take in enough calcium, and you really require it, and you're really going through calcium stores, some people, go through more than others, you're going to be taking that from your bone tissue. And as you take those calcium stores from your bone tissue to deliver it to other tissues in the body, right, this is due to the deprivation of calcium that you're intaking. And so that's all going to happen during fast. All the nutrients that you have stored in your body are going to have to swap around and try to even things out. It's trying its best to come to homeostasis. It's noticing these things and shifting around. So, fasting is really getting back on your homeostasis game.
Brilliant. Getting back on the homeostasis game. I love that, man. That's so important. So important. So easy to fall off, especially with all the food and water, the junk and toxins in that. Now it's so easy to shift and get our bodies just sludged, full of toxins, working slowly, all that stuff. Man, that's great, man. Well, you convinced me to start it. That's for sure. I'm thinking about a 7-day fast.
Yeah,
That'd be intense, man. That'd be intense. But for those of you that are listening, definitely if you want to do a 7-day fast, think about it, do your research, start with a 24-hour, start there, start small, even 12, and then work your way up. But that's awesome, dude. So I have one more question for you here, man. So what would you say, if you could sum up your whole experience in one word, what is that one word?
It'd have to be courage.
Courage. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I mean, there's a lot of words that go into it, but the overall arcing theme is facing something consistently. At some point during that 7-day fast, you're going to be facing every voice inside your head, which are survival mechanisms that the body is screaming at you, eat, bro, eat. Come on, we've never gone this long. We don't know that we can eat. And the whole time you're like, nah. So while, you know, I don't find it necessarily threatening. I don't. And I'm not going to say it felt like a threatening experience at all. I've done a lot of threatening things in my life. I'm quite a bit of a daredevil, which is why I think it was pretty easy to jump into a 7-day fast. But at the same time, you do have every single mechanism working against you. You have every single survival mechanism in the body making you feel a certain way and telling you to stop and eat. And you are fighting every bit of your DNA. And
Powerful.
at that level, man, you realize that going through a 7-day fast, and you realize why fasting is one of the most spiritual and one of the greatest tools for self-awareness is because you have to fight every bit of the flesh. The flesh is no longer in control. That enlightenment period on the 6th and 7th day, I made that joke, but the thing is, my body really felt maybe not hostile, but it felt like a little extra oomph from trying to get food from one place or in the other. And, it was really like survivalistic kind of warrior hormones almost that started coming out. And the thing is that while it was happening, my mind was a totally different beast. It was happening, my body, I felt that in my body, but myself and my mind and my consciousness did not. It felt separate. It felt like I was in control. It felt like I was pulling the strings and my body was just listening to me. And it didn't like it, but it was listening.
Wow. That's awesome. That's phenomenal, dude. That's phenomenal. That's so cool. I love that. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for joining us today, being on here today, and sharing your amazing message. Last thing, I want to let our viewers here know, where can we find you? Where can we find more stuff about you?
So I have a business Instagram called The Muscle Medic, and this is where you'll find a whole lot of information about the body and how to take care of yourself and do a lot of self-care. It'll also be where you can find me for a booking session to take care of your body and break you down, get you fixed up, get you moving right. I use a lot of different biomechanical principles in my own way to work on people and do body work and work on the body to open people up. And then I also have a personal Instagram account, which is gravitating to more of a self-help and spiritual account. Mahas Saham, and that is ma.has.sa.ham. So
that's a mouthful right there. We'll be sure to put both of those down below in the links. So thank you, Jesse, for sharing your amazing message, man. It's always great talking with you. I very, very am grateful for you jumping on here today and sharing your word. Until next time, man, we'll definitely talk some more.
All right. See you, bud.
All right. Take care, boss.